Vanessa doesn't have a brand of items called the Black Pearl. Just a random ship name. No one's ever said that before.
I'm going to be diving pretty deep into the details on a couple of these questions, so it's going to be a little bit long. Some of my favorite card designs so far are definitely the ones that tell a story. Kill the genie and he gives you 3 wishes, and a wish is a card that gets added to.
Okay, that's cute. So, do we have examples of story-driven cards in the current game? Most cards conceptually work around their lore, like a sniper rifle does one big burst of damage. You have things like Chocolate Bar, which are consumed, but I don't really think we have any of these story-based items at the moment. We do only have 2 classes, and we only have like 70% of each of their cards. But nothing is really coming to the top of my head. We have no evolving items. Exactly, yeah. So evolving items should be coming in, and that might help with this. The other thing that comes to mind is you mentioned about Jules, the chef. They potentially want to put a mechanic in where you sort of, some of your cards are ingredients, and then like maybe one of your slots or 2 of your slots on your board are like ovens or hobs to cook things on, and then you can put them on there and cook. That's sort of story-driven card play, I guess. But currently, I think this is one of the things we've lost, but they had to strip a lot back from what the Bazaar once was, so fair enough.
There's a weapon that's an enchanted match in the wizard class, and it starts off just doing 1 damage, but every time you play it, the damage it does doubles, and it starts off as a match, and then it turns into a bonfire.
We have the Atlas Stone.
It turns into forest fire and inferno.
This is the sort of stuff that might be coming back, and it seems like back in the day there was a lot of it. Is this idea of a evolving card, or the new upgrade system, as it were, which we have a video for if you want to go check it out on the old YouTube channel. Cards wouldn't just get level up. You wouldn't get a matchstick and then you get a level 2 matchstick and level 3 matchstick, level 4 matchstick. You'd get a matchstick and then you'd evolve it into, like he says, a lit matchstick, and then a fireplace, and then a bonfire or whatever, an inferno.
It just gets out of control really quickly, and then it burns out after the last stage and just disappears from your deck. So I think right now, yeah, my favorite cards are the ones that definitely tell a story, that differentiates the way heroes play.
Let's just say it was those.
So this is kind of similar to like a hero power in Hearthstone, if you think about that.
Also gone, thank God, we do not want a Hearthstone clone. Thank you, Raynand. We do have hero powers, but they are actually, and this is one thing that I think is, okay, rant incoming, here we go. So, I was thinking about this the other day, right? What happens when the Bazaar adds 4, 8, 10, 12 new classes? The old classes get boring and stale. And sure, they might rotate them out or whatever, but that leaves so much work, so much cool stuff that they could have had just gone. And it can't be used because it's power creep and whatever. Or, you know, metas have just evolved and that stuff is never used anymore. And it's never revitalized and it's old and stale. One way that things like Hearthstone avoid this is having neutral cards. I mean, they also add cards back to the old deck, but let's assume Hearthstone never added new cards to each class. There is a neutral deck which they can add to. So you can add cards to your neutral pile, and that could revitalize old things. You could add, let me see, you could add something that synergized well with small weapons, 10 expansions down the line, and suddenly Vanessa would be good. The Bazaar doesn't have these sort of neutral items. Not yet, anyway. They might have some, there might be some events that have neutral items, and I kind of hope there are, but it seems like we're only going to have class items. However, we do have hero powers. Hero powers seem to be available to everybody. So, if later down the line we got a hero power that synergized well with small weapons, you'd see a spike of play from Vanessa. So I do very much love the fact that we have hero powers. I think they are needed in the game, and I think they could really keep old classes refreshed by just adding more hero powers later down the line. Why add neutrals to old classes when you can rework them instead? They've already said they'll be very permissive when it comes to rebalance and reworks. That's true. Yeah, they did say they would be. So maybe we do see some more of that. Honestly, I hadn't really thought of it from the rework perspective, but if they're brave enough, because obviously you buy the class, you get all the cards, so people won't feel like if you nerf the card or rebalance the card, they'll be like, but I paid money for it. fuck off. This means, like, if Vanessa is struggling, right? I don't know what we use. Let's use Pygmalion. If Pygmalion is struggling, maybe they just revamp Truffles, and all of a sudden Pygmalion, like, they just completely rework Truffles. It's no longer to do with max health. It now, I don't know, now you don't take any damage from the desert, and then suddenly there's a Pygmalion store deck that comes out or some shit. That would be horrible. Don't do that. But just stuff like that is really, really smart and clever, and I can't agree with you more. And that, yeah, that's literally what MOBAs do. Especially the MOBA I follow most closely is Dota, which is renowned for just completely reworking everything. It's a good concept, and I hope that they go with it.
It's a very tempo-oriented class, very aggressive.
Tempo,
very fun class to play, for sure. And it's got a fun little potion sub-archetype and a lot of ways to jump.
I love sub-archetypes. This is one thing I think we've kind of moved away from. There are synergies more than archetypes. I am a sucker for archetypes. It's the little Magic the Gathering, it's basically Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, it's the little old TCG, CCG gremlin inside of me that's like, oh, but you don't have archetypes. Just because I enjoy playing archetypes. What I enjoy most is taking an archetype that isn't meta and just playing it and having fun with it. Because the natural synergies that an archetype has feel really fun. Because they all just click and work together, and achieving that without archetypes is tricky. Very rewarding still. Building a good sandcastle that clicks will be very fun. It's more difficult though. So yeah, I just like what archetypes bring to the table because of that. But I can see why they don't make their way into the Bazaar, and I'm quite glad that they didn't. Realistically, if I really think about it, if I'm open-minded, as I wish all of the community would be, I'm glad that the one thing I like from old CCGs and TCGs is not in the Bazaar. Because they have their own methods of doing it. The synergies, the pivoting, that sort of thing. There's clearly intended synergies instead of archetypes. Exactly. Burn, small item builds, so functional, yeah. Functionally, there kind of still is archetypes, but there's not like... Vanessa doesn't have a brand of items called, I don't know, the Black Pearl. And they're all like items that would be on her ship called the Black Pearl. Just a random ship name. No one's ever said that before. So you'd have like a Black Pearl revolver and a Black Pearl knife and a Black Pearl cannon, and they'd all like synergize with each other. Admittedly, I'm just going off a naming convention. Like, you're right. There are clearly just burn items that all work well together. Small items all work well together. But they work well together. They synergize, but nowhere near to the extent that archetypes tend to synergize with each other, because archetypes tend to synergize with each other in such a specific way. Like, because they know you're going to be running these cards with each other, it can be like, oh, Black Pearl knife, if you use this, buff the damage on specifically Black Pearl, I don't know, rifle by like 2 times, double its damage sort of thing. Arbitrary archetype specific restrictions as an excuse to make overpowered cards. Exactly. And I enjoy those overpowered cards. Because, yeah, they just feel fun to use. But eventually you'll always just have a King of the Hill in that case. We don't want that. We want a nice balanced game that's fun and refreshing to play all the time. So synergies is a much better way of going than archetypes. Chat is right, Reynad is right, and I am wrong, but I am happy to be wrong in this case. I will still enjoy and play the game. So
the Chef is a class that, I guess you could call it like a builder type of class. There's going to be 2 of these in the game, but they play very differently. So what you do with the Chef is you buy a lot of ingredients, right?
Yeah, to being the engineer, I guess.
Maybe you kill a chicken monster and you get some eggs, or you kill a cow monster and you get some milk. And after you get a bunch of... Because you get eggs from chickens by killing them and milk from cows by killing them, apparently. Instead of, say, chicken or beef. Ingredients into your deck. But classic looting, you start drawing through your deck, and as you draw and play those ingredients, you make dishes. And these dishes are going to be very powerful cards and powerful effects that give you this this temporary, huge burst of power. As we alluded to before, I still really hope we get some sort of mechanic like this, because it would be really cool and very different. It's just not something you see in other card games. You don't see chefs
appear in many games, let alone have a unique mechanic like this. And that's one thing that I really think the Bazaar can hone in on, is I really hope, because of the way that it's built, because this is not a strict 1v1, there isn't necessarily going to be this meta of, oh, you play this to counter this to counter this. Obviously, that'll be a thing. There will be meta builds. People will post tier lists of cards and stuff, I'm sure. But due to the sheer variety and sheer difficulty in replicating that, you're not going to be able to reliably get those things. So you should, in theory, get a lot more variety out of the game. And because of that, you don't necessarily have to make sure that every class has such good coverage for all of the other classes and all of the other builds that could possibly come up against. You have to worry about the matchup between the chef's dish build to the Pygmalion health build. That's not really anything you super need to think of. More, if the chef dish build is too strong, you can nerf it down a little bit. This goes a lot into just the general concept for how the deck building works in the Bazaar. If you think about it, it does mimic, or rather it innovates on the deck building of old and borrows from auto battlers, but it is not the same. If you're in an auto battler, there's probably, I mean, there's almost definitely less than 100 units available to you in a game, and they're broken down into different tiers. So say you're starting the game, you'll have your 1 stars or your 1s tiers or whatever it's called in your particular version. That first star of monster, you'll have maybe 10 options, and you're shown between 4 and 5, let's say, per round or per roll. And you can continue to roll and churn through and almost guarantee at least starting the build you want. That's not really the same in the Bazaar, because each class has 100 items that can appear at any point. So even though you get currently, it's like 7 or 8 merchant phases, each merchant's going to sell you slightly different things, which is potentially going to help you get to the right item you want. Say you want a small item, you keep going to the same merchants that provide those small items, but you're still probably looking for 1 out of 33 items. It's going to be incredibly difficult to replicate builds easily. Which is why, if you go check out my pivoting video, pivoting is going to be so important, because you might spot something that actually makes your current build stronger and either helps you achieve the build you're looking for or gets you past that build that you're looking for and potentially leads you to something better. And it's because we have this build variance, or we should have this build variance, that we can have such interesting class mechanics.
The merchant has an alternate win condition where if you buy enough stuff and you fill up your deck and it becomes big enough, you automatically win the game. But it's a very flexible class. It's definitely the least aggressive, and it feels like playing a combo control deck.
So Pygmalion still kind of feels like that. He is still very non-aggressive. He does have aggressive options. The thing I wanted to pick up on that comment, that question, was, or rather the answer, was this idea of an alternative win condition. That's going to be trickier now, but I still really want to see something like it. I was having a crazy thought the other day, and I may have shared this with you on stream before, I can't remember. But how cool would it be if you could collect 4 medium items, let's say the left leg, right arm, and left arm, for example, of some Exodia, something like that? I mean, it's a working title. Basically Exodia. How cool would it be if that existed? Hear me out. Don't interrupt me. You collect those 4 medium, probably sized cards. So the most common size of cards, so you're probably looking at 40 to 50 per class. And they are just kind of a normal item, like a subpar normal item, like they'll do a little bit of damage or maybe a bit of healing or whatever. They can kind of work as you build them up. But if you get all 4 of them, they are consumed and win you their next round. Maybe it doesn't need to be 5. Maybe it really needs to punish you for doing it. But I hope that kind of meme shit exists. But they still need to be able to do damage or something. They still need to have some sort of utility. Because if they don't, then they'll never see the light of day outside of this meme. And that's 5 out of the 100 cards of that class that are just gone. But I hope we do see some alternate win conditions.
5th class in the game.
Even if it is just per round. Will there be a Noodle Card?
So there will be a Noodle Card.
Is this game similar to Slay the Spire? It is now.
The Bazaar is a game where you don't use mana at all. You
don't use
draw
mana.
cards, and those cards generate resources. And most importantly, you're building your deck as the game goes on. So every single game, that is the gameplay, is building your deck as you go along.
Nope.
You're not like having a fight
Stop.
and then building your deck.
Nope,
and then
Reynad, stop.
fight.
Stop.
So,
Reynad, no. It is like that now. Yeah, no, they decided to actually develop on the idea of building your deck in between rounds. And it was all part of the infinite lobby idea, moving away from the 1v1, making the game more of a community-driven thing anyway. I like the change. I didn't dislike the 1v1, but I do very much like the infinite lobby, and just how easy it is going to be to play the game now. Just given that time to build up your deck, almost as if you're playing Slay the Spire. And Slay the Spire is a great game. There's no problem in borrowing little elements from it. And they certainly seem to have a whole lot of love for the game, and a lot of people do. We haven't touched on this for a while. We haven't heard Q&A stuff about this. I actually should poke the community Discord, which there should be a link for somewhere down below in the comments. You'll find it. I should poke in there and ask this question again. We're gonna have 6 classes on launch, but are we going to own 6 classes on launch? Especially those of us that pre-ordered. Now, if we pre-ordered or backed on Indiegogo and we get 3 times the money that we put in as currency, if that's enough to buy all the classes, then we may as well start with all 6. But what about a new player coming in? What are they going to start with? How do we sell this game to them? If a bunch of people on Twitch say, oh, Gamesplay Greg, this game looks actually kind of okay. I'm not just here for a Hearthstone clone. How do I play it? And can I play the chef like you? If I have to turn around and say, I'm sorry, but when you download the game, you only get Pygmalion and, I don't know, Stella. I don't know how that will translate. I kind of hope that you should probably have a tutorial that teaches you how to play the game with a deck. Thereafter, I really hope you kind of get the choice of who to play, or maybe like a tester for each class. Like you get to play 1 free game on each class and then you get to make your decision. That would actually be a pretty cool way of doing it. People could have a feel for it. I really like that. And that's okay if we get to choose the 2 of 6. Or if there is an in-game way of working towards that currency to unlock more of the 6. But I doubt that. I mean, maybe I don't doubt that. Maybe there will be a way, but nah, I don't see there being. I see maybe being able to work your way towards it if you only start with 1. And if you start with like Pygmalion, you're just given Pygmalion. That would kind of be boring for day 1 content. Like everyone will be playing Pygmalion. So I kind of hope that doesn't happen.
Just fun things like that, you know. You can make like a little beach cosmetic, and you can like draw in the sand. Little things like that.
They took away the drawing in the sand very quickly because everyone just drew dicks.
Legendaries are 25% more likely to show up for you this game. A mechanic like that is something.
Oh, that's cool, actually. Even if we don't have drop rates now, which I don't believe we do, but I will check. That's an interesting mechanic to have for potentially a future class, right? So we just went on this whole rant about how impossible it is to sort of net deck the Bazaar because let's say you go to a merchant, there's probably a 1 in 33 chance of seeing, or like a 5 in 33 chance, I guess. Very, very rare. And that's, you can't even see duplicates, so maybe not. But yeah, with all that being said and all that being good, a class that can kind of circumvent that and sort of its thing is being able to point itself at certain cards and certain synergies, certain archetypes maybe. Maybe that's a cool thing. Maybe that's the Yu-Gi-Oh nerd inside of me just wanting it. But that could be a cool, interesting mechanic to play around with. We'll see. Maybe it's a hero power rather than a class sort of synergy, a bunch of class items. Maybe it's a hero power. I'm not sure what it would do, but hey. Although I guess You know what? We do kind of have that with the merchants. That's kind of the role they fill. If you are looking specifically for a skyscraper as Pygmalion, you're going to go visit Pol. You're going to go visit Pol because he has all of the big items. And you're much more likely to find it there than you are at JJ, who just sells all items, or just general merchant.
Thanks for support. Keep the questions coming, and talk to you guys soon.